If someone has a frog in their throat, like I have a little bit of right now, that means there's something in their throat. Maybe it's a sore throat, or maybe it's clogged with some stuff inside it that makes it difficult for you to talk clearly, or makes it difficult for you to speak. And if you can hear my voice is a little bit off today because I have a frog in my throat because of allergies, because there's a lot of pollen. 我有那个花粉的过敏. So I have a frog in my throat. So a frog in my throat means there's something wrong with my throat. So it's hard for me to speak, or it's hard for me to talk. So you hear a little bit of a frog in my throat today. So where does this phrase come from? Well, it goes back to the mid-19th century in the United States. This comes out of American English, though it is also used in British English as well. But it comes from the United States around the middle of the 19th century. Now, unlike many words and phrases, there's no real special history or long origin or special historical meaning about where this phrase comes from. There's no special history. Some stories out there that say that this idiom comes from the Middle Ages, that it comes from the medieval practice of using frogs in medicines for sore throats. Now, it is true that in many places during the Middle Ages, frogs were used in remedies, in medicine, to help handle a sore throat, or when you have a frog in your throat. But there does not seem to be any record of people actually using the phrase "a frog in your throat" in England or anywhere else at that time. It seems to actually come from mid-19th century American English. Now, why a frog? Well, if you hear someone who has a frog in their throat, kind of again like me right now, the sound coming out of their throat sounds a little bit like maybe the sound made by a frog. So if you listen to my voice, you almost can imagine maybe that it sounds a little bit like the from a frog. So the idea of a frog in your throat. So if someone has a little bit of a strange sound coming from their throat, they can't talk like they normally might do, then we can say that they have a frog in their throat. Let's look at a couple of examples. Do you have a cold? It sounds like you have a frog in your throat. So again, a cold could be one reason. Maybe they have a sore throat. Their throat hurts. There's pain in their throat because they have a cold. So they might have a frog in their throat. And so, no, it sounds like I have a frog in my throat because of allergies. 就是有过敏，因为有过敏。And that's actually my problem. I don't have a cold. I feel perfectly fine. But I have allergies. The pollen in the air in Taichung right now is very bad because we've had very little rain this spring. 因为今年的春天我们下雨很少，所以我们的花粉比较多，所以有这个声音，因为有过敏会效果我的声音。So because of the pollen and my allergy, I have a frog in my throat because we have had a very dry spring, and so there's a lot of pollen in the air. So I have a frog in my throat. This has been an installment of Word and Idiom Origins. 如果你还有英文问题，你可以上 Facebook 台中新英格兰美语，你也可以看 YouTube TCNEEnglish。如果你在台中，你找英文老师，你可以在 FB 跟我联络。谢谢你收看。